For some context, this happened sometime in 2009 when I was about 10 years old. This was somewhere around between May and June, and I went to this really big museum. It was a very nice museum. It did have, some exhibits, not really exhibits you find in the zoo, but some areas of exhibits that you will find in museums, such as dinosaurs, creatures, etc. As I was going through the entire museum, I honestly really enjoy it. I was really liking the fact that there was a lot of things to see, such as dinosaurs and that. Of course, this was a field trip that I took when I was in grade 5, and this was honestly one of the best things I've ever been to. However, though, something really strange happened. Now, this isn't really the type of story to make you jump out of your pants, but this is definitely one story that really had caught my guard off. Now, there was this girl who was taking photos at the time. We'll call her Jessica. Jessica had her camera with her, and she had been taking photography as part of her career, as her family had been photographers for many years now. Honestly, during this trip was amazing. However, though, this is when everything goes on. While we were going on with our trip, everything seemed normal. While this was going on, nothing abnormal or anything had happened. While we were exploring, I got a couple pictures from Jessica, who took some photos of me in the museum. As the museum was going on for a while, I got really nice photos I was in. However, though, it wasn't until I think on the bus ride home when Jessica was going for the photos. Honestly, she told me something that I cannot remember, but Jessica had said that she was going through the photos and she showed me a photo and said that I might want to see it. At first, I thought that maybe she spotted something suspicious about the museum, but since we were on the bus ride back, I ended up taking a look at the photo. Obviously, it looked like there was like a man, seemed to be in his 20s, and he was standing not far from in front of the dinosaur skeleton I was standing at. Since I was standing near the Stegosaurus, the man was standing beside me. Honestly, I thought she was just playing a mind trick, thinking that maybe there was a student who probably just wanted to pull a prank, but obviously there was no really much evidence. There was nobody like that in our group, and this honestly really confused me as how did this man manage to get in the photo. Still, though, I honestly am still quite shocked, but also very confused as to who that man was. No one from my group had ever know who he was, as they said they'd never seen him before. So honestly, I think it might have been something paranormal, or maybe it was just a mind trick. I'm afraid that's a question I'm not going to have answered to this day. This took place when I was in kindergarten sometime in the year 2004, I believe. This was somewhere around the line of maybe near the end of the summer. Well, not end of the summer, but near the end of the school year. I was a pretty courageous kid at the time, and I was in kindergarten, so I was using the bathroom when this happened. This is also not really the type of video to make you jump out of your seat, but it's definitely something that made me really insecure about this story for a while. It was, of course, I think a few days before the last day of school, and I had asked to use the bathroom. It was like at least an hour before the school day ended, so I was heading back to my class. And keep in mind, I was in kindergarten, so I went to the bathroom and did my business. All was normal. However, as I was going off my business, we hear some vents that happened to be in the bathroom. I was hearing some air vents that sounded like cool breeze being blown in the school. After all, it was a hot day and the AC was on at the school, so I was used to that type of sound being on. While this was going on, though, I honestly didn't think of it, but I all of a sudden looked to see that there was there was no one there, but however, I heard what seemed to be like someone crawling inside the air vent. Honestly, I thought that at first that it could have been maybe a critter, there, as mice had somehow did manage to, well, get in the air vents a few times. That has happened maybe once or twice, but that has never happened, been, been really often. I was minding my own business when all of a sudden I ended up hearing a sound, what sounded like somebody was whispering. Honestly, I thought that maybe there was somebody in the stall, so I cracked open the door a bit, but I saw nobody was there. Honestly, this was getting a little concerning, seeing that I have never went on like this. However, though, this honestly really made me uneasy as I didn't even know what was going on. I was continuing to finish up in the bathroom when all of a sudden I heard, as soon as I got out of my stall, I heard what sounded like a laugh of a girl. I honestly kick open pretty much every single bathroom door of the school to make sure that there was nobody there, which there wasn't anybody there. I definitely had no idea as to who or what it was in there, but I eventually got out of the bathroom. I reported it to the staff, and the custodians went in to go check on it, but unfortunately, they turned out with nothing as they didn't find anyone in there. I don't know what I experienced that day was paranormal or something much worse, but all I could say was that I never saw it again or even heard that sound again. I don't even know if there was really somebody in there or if there was someone in there or if it was paranormal. That's going to be one story that I'm never going to get an answer to this day. For some context, this happened to at least a custodian that used to be pretty cool in elementary school before she retired back in 2012. This was the year 2010, and the custodian's name, for privacy reasons, I'll call her Angie. Angie was in her 50s, and she had used to be a school teacher here before she had an injury to which she ended up becoming a custodian, not doing too much work. While she really had fun as a teacher, she did have two kids that graduate the same school. Honestly, Angie really liked being a custodian since a lot of kids really loved her, and even adults alike too. As Angie was doing when cleaning up her rounds, that happened to be when the school's power unfortunately went out. It was during a thunderstorm at the time, so Angie was continuing to mop the hallway with flashlights when she all of a sudden heard what sounded like someone running across the hallway. At first, she looked up thinking that maybe a student was wandering back to class or trying to get back to class or something, but there was nobody there. Honestly, she ended up continuing to mop the floor when she walked over to see that there was one walking again. Honestly, she couldn't see who it was and thought that maybe it might have been a student or possibly a teacher. This honestly really got really, really freaky as Angie ended up continuing back to work when suddenly she heard what seemed to be a door opening. Honestly, she looked to think that there was a teacher, but there was no one there. Honestly, this got Angie really worried and worked up as she had no idea who or what was going on. She honestly called out if anyone was there, to which there was nobody there. It honestly made her wonder why somebody was there. She ended up reporting the incident of someone going down the hallway, but during the time when the power was out of the school, no one was in and or out of the hallway very much. I don't know what Angie was experience was paranormal or not, but this honestly still gives her chills to this day. She has not had this experience since then, And even after her retirement, she is assuming that whatever it was definitely paranormal. So, this happened to my friend named Charlotte at the time of the story, and this was around 2017. Charlotte was home for the summer from college, so Charlotte was alone in her room as both her family members were working the night shift. So, of course, with her younger brother being at a sleepover and her older brother had recently moved out to live with his girlfriend, Charlotte had the whole house to herself. Nothing really strange or abnormal had happened until late at night when Charlotte was asleep. As Charlotte woke up, she heard what seemed to be some tapping noise going on outside her house. At first, she thought that it could have been someone or possibly a tree branch hitting her window, as that has happened a few times during a storm. But the only problem was that there was no storm at all. Charlotte ended up peeking out to think that somebody was there, but called out and also said if someone was truly there, to which there wasn't anyone there. Honestly, Charlotte even explored the house just to be on the safe side in case of if nobody was there. Of course, her parents were still at work, and it was just after midnight. The reason why Charlotte went to bed at around 11:30 is because she had to get up early for work the next day. She ended up looking around but couldn't find any source of what could be making the tapping sound. Just as soon as she went to bed, she ended up hearing what seemed to be loud bangs coming from her door. Honestly, she opened up her closet door only to discover that there was no one there. Honestly, she texted her parents, scared that someone could be playing tricks, and that's when Charlotte decided to get the cops. The cops arrived and searched her house, but there was no one there. Charlotte's parents, of course, her mom came home and stayed the rest of the night since she had to get off of work early at that time anyway. Also, for more context, this didn't happen for at least another few weeks. When it happened again, this time the parents believed her and they honestly had no idea if someone was there. They looked everywhere and even looked in the interior walls that could be possible some critters could be in, but they found nothing. Still to this day, they still don't know what was actually there, if it was just some prankster or if it was paranormal. Honestly, would like to think that it was something paranormal. Ever since they moved out of that house a few years later, nothing like that has ever happened to them before then. Although they're not sure if it's happening to the new homeowners, but at the same time, they have no idea and they won't really know for sure.